a lot of these companies that export to the US itself. Vishal Manchanda, who's Pharma Analyst of Systematix Group, joins in now. Vishal, good afternoon. Your thoughts? What would be your pick of the pack?
Hi, good afternoon. I think from a Q2 perspective, the best performer would be Lupin on a QOQ perspective. So that's where I think the US business will do extraordinarily well. There is no Revlimid dependence and there is no Revlimid uncertainty hence. But I think for all other names, we have the Revlimid uncertainty in terms of how it moves QOQ. But the expectation is probably for most names, we expect Revlimid to slow down a bit. At least for Cipla and Zydus, where we think a slowdown is likely. Probably for Dr. Reddy's too. Sun Pharma is facing problems in the US. They're potentially facing some supply constraints. We can see a QOQ decline in a large part of their limited competition assets in the US. But fortunately for them, India is doing well. So probably from an India growth perspective, Sun Pharma should outpace all other peers in the space. Mankind too should do well on the domestic front and in the US too. So I think from a overall perspective, I think Lupin should be the one that should do the best. But the stock price is also potentially reflecting that.
Okay, so you're saying Lupin should be the one that will do the best this quarter, got it. What about Divi's Laboratories? The base business is improving for Divi's. How are you positioned on the stock and what are the key expectations this time?
So Divi's from a YOY perspective will remain weak because of a high base. But from a QOQ perspective, they should do better, led by growth in one of the products they have started supplying to an innovator. So they are supplying a contrast media product, which should ramp up on a quarter-over-quarter perspective. And probably we should see about low to mid-single-digit growth on revenue. I don't expect margin expansion because in the previous quarter we already witnessed a sharp margin move. I think margins should remain where it is, but revenues where we expect 2 to 3% growth. But my sense is the street is expecting higher growth.
Okay. Well, as we speak, Vishal, Sun Pharma has announced that they will be releasing numbers on the 1st of November. So I'm going to ask you about that one. What is the contribution that you expect from the specialty business this quarter? And what is the commentary that you would like to hear keenly from Sun?
Right. So I think on the specialty front, I think it'll be lackluster, kind of a flattish performance on a QOQ basis. Because Illumia, which is their largest asset there, seems to have not grown. The prescription trends is suggesting a decline quarter over quarter. So I don't see a favorable move there. Overall, I think what the street would look to hear from them is their commentary on whether we can see further ramp up in Illumia and the other candidate, which potentially, so lately we have seen clinical data on one of their ophthalmic products, Sequa, which is also a specialty product. So implications of that clinical data on the peak sales potential of the product. So that would be something people would look out for.
Okay. All right. Vishal, just a quick question with regards to, companies such as JB Chemicals, which has a strong India focus, Eris Life, which has a strong India focus, Torrent for that matter as well. Are you expecting a strong quarter when it comes to the domestic business and hence your expectations? Because the fear is that the monsoon wasn't as serious as expected, and hence acute sales were impacted this quarter.
So if you look at the headline IPM numbers and also numbers across companies, they seem to be weak. I think they are weak across most names, except a few which are doing slightly better. But what we are witnessing is about mid to high single-digit growth for most names. And although these names are chronic focused like JB Chem, Torrent Pharma, we are seeing a separate challenge in chronic area. So that challenge pertains to people shifting from higher value brands to lower value brands. So that's a separate challenge that we are seeing in the chronic space too. So my sense is we will not see the kind of double-digit growth we can expect from a chronic focused company. Rather, it would be a mid to high single-digit growth number.
All right, just finally, before we let you go, Vishal, your thoughts on Cipla? I mean, the numbers won't matter much if a deal is announced or not announced, right? What should one do with a stock like that?
So on Cipla, I think we are kind of in the midst of this uncertainty whether the deal will go through or not. But irrespective of that, I think Cipla as a company provides more stability in terms of the base business. So they have a very large India business, so that kind of allows you a very strong base earnings, and on top of that, you have these limited competition assets that they're selling in the US, including Revlimid. But if I look at Cipla from a 2-year perspective, there is visibility on multiple launches that they can do there. So if all of these launches pan out as we would expect them to, Cipla potentially can surprise the street in terms of the upside that it can show.
All right, we leave it at that. Thanks a lot, Vishal, for joining in and telling us what to expect from the pharmaceutical space this quarter. Let's slip into a quick break. On the other side, the market has been doing well, so Sachidanand Uttikar of Trade Bulls will be joining in with some trading strategies. Stay tuned.